The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main website, where you can listen to the X-Zone 7/24/365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And if you'd like to read a complimentary online digital copy of this month's edition of the X Chronicles newspaper, all you have to do is go to www.rel-X201506. And in this edition, you will read all about the Alien Cosmic Expo that is happening this weekend in Brantford, Ontario. There are going to be speakers, there are going to be psychics, there are going to be vendors, T-shirts, DVDs, dowsers, hypnosis, and much more. Some of the speakers that you will be able to listen to. Ready for this? Stanton T. Friedman, the godfather of ufology himself. Michael Telstar. The Honorable Paul Hellyer. Michael Horn. And the list goes on. Now, if you cannot, for some reason, get to Brantford, Ontario, because you live, let's say, in Europe, South America, Asia, India, or in Europe, you can still partake. That's right. You can still take in the keynote speakers. 3 days of keynote speakers. You'll be able to watch on pay-per-view. All you need is an internet connection, whether it's a handheld device, let's say your cell phone, your iPad, your laptop, your desktop, whatever. Now, here's two very important websites. The first one is for the Alien Cosmic Expo, the main website, www.aliencosmicexpo.com. And I'd like to send out congratulations to two very hardworking ladies, Joanne Eady and Heather Masters, who are the organizers of this great event. Exonation, I've never seen two ladies work so hard trying to make such a success. And this is why it's going to be successful, because of the hard work and dedication. That's aliencosmicexpo.com. And for the pay-per-view event, digitalbroadcastnetwork.ca. All the information are on those two sites. My guest this hour is a gentleman I've had the pleasure of having on the show before. His name is Dr. Carl HELVIE. Now, he is a registered nurse with a doctorate in public health and over 60 years experience as a nurse practitioner, educator, author, and researcher. He has published 8 books and chapters in 4 additional ones and published 40 articles, presented over 55 research papers internationally and 60 papers for lay groups. Some of his books resulted from his development and over 35 years refinement of the HELVIE energy theory of nursing and health that has been used internationally in practice, education, and research by 9 countries. During his academic career, Dr. HELVIE received grants up to $800,000 for his work with the homeless and low-income populations and other projects. He has been recognized in most major international and national references, such as Who's Who in America, Who's Who in Nursing, and Outstanding Educators in America, and has 2 listings in Wikipedia. He received a Distinguished Career Award from the American Public Association in 1999. He was listed in 50 Great Writers You Should Be Reading in 2014, and recently, this year in 2015, been nominated for Nurse of the Year by Medical News. Joining me now is Dr. HELVIE, and Dr. HELVIE, welcome back to the X Zone. It is so good having you with us, sir.
Thank you, Rob. I'm always happy to talk with you.
Dr. HELVIE, our listeners know you as the man who beat lung cancer and the man who is letting the world know how people can beat lung cancer. And I was wondering, sir, if you could tell us your story.
Great. Well, it started with a dream, and I pay attention to my dreams because I believe that God speaks with us one way through our dreams if we pay attention. And so I had a dream that told me to go for a chest x-ray. So I went, and my doctor quizzed me about, why do you want an x-ray? And I wasn't about to tell him because he was pretty conservative, and this was 40 years ago. And so eventually he got the message that I really wanted a chest x-ray, and so he referred me. At that time, you had to be referred by your primary doctor in the United States in order to do anything. And so in order to get an x-ray, I had to be referred by my primary doctor. So when it came back, there was a spot that had not been there previously, and so then he asked if I would go for a chest x-ray, chest x-rays, a biopsy. And so I went, and they did the biopsy, and it came back positive. And then they come and they start telling me they're going to do surgery, they're going to do chemotherapy. And I said, wait a minute, I came here for a biopsy. I don't make snap decisions. I go home, I pray about it, I make a rational decision, and I may or I may not see you again. And they told me, well, you'll be dead in 6 months. And I said, but that's my decision. Your responsibility is to tell me the pros and cons of surgery. My responsibility is to make the decision about what I will do. Well, doctors weren't used to patients that talk to them that way. Back 40 years ago, they still aren't. I found they haven't learned much. And so my doctor still, every once in a while I have to fire one because he just doesn't do what I think he should be doing.
Right.
And also they don't like anyone that makes waves. And so I haven't had anyone fire me yet, but I have gotten rid of a couple of them recently. And so then, I came home and I prayed about it. My doctor didn't know that I knew his sister, and his sister and I were in an Edgar Cayce Search for God group together. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the Cayce Search for God material, but Edgar Cayce, when he was alive, he worked with a group, and they came up with 2 books. And then now there are people all over the world that get together in different people's homes, and they meet maybe once a week, and they meditate, and they have a time when they meditate together for the whole week at home. And then we read the book, and there are disciplines that we established, and we would talk about our successes or failures. The book really is based around a lot of the spiritual attributes like patience, faith, forgiveness, etc. And so Ursula was in my group, and I mentioned it to her, and she said, well, I'll work with you if you want. She said, I'll watch my dreams. And she said, I know a psychic, and if you'd like to have a reading, he's one of the best in the country. And I said, well, I've never had one, but what do I have to lose? And so I had a reading, and we watched our dreams, and everything came back that I should treat it naturally. And Ursula knew a physician in Vienna, Virginia, who had been very successful using Laetrile, which was illegal, and it's still illegal. But he was very successful with this, and the FDA had closed him down, and so he continued doing this in his private practice, but I had to sign forms that I wouldn't report him.
Right.
And he, within 5 years afterwards, they had taken his license, so I felt very bad because this man, the only thing he was doing was trying to save people's lives, but it was interfering with the greed and the money-making.
Oh, for gosh sake.
Right, and this happens over and over and over again, as you know. And so he told me that my protocol he gave me was I took Laetrile,
Mm-hmm.
I took pancreatic enzymes, and they're very important because they soften the shell of the cancer cells and make it so that the Laetrile can enter. Then I also took zinc, and zinc helps to carry the Laetrile to the website. I took high-dose vitamin A, and by high dose I mean I started at 200,000 international units.
Wow.
Then I went to 100,000, and then I went to 50,000. And as you know, 5,000 is the recommended daily dose. And I told the doctor, I said, well, I'm a little concerned about taking this much because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, which, and so the excess is stored in the fat in the body. And he said, well, I'm going to give you high-dose vitamin E, which will help with the toxicity. And I said, yeah, but E is another fat-soluble vitamin. But I took them, and would you know, Rob, that a year ago I read the research that validated what this doctor had told me 40 years ago and was doing in practice. And what they did was they took breast cancer cells, they took normal cells, they took precancer cells, they used the vitamin A. It did nothing for the breast cancer cells, it did nothing to the normal cells, but what it did was the precancer cells reverted to normal. And that's exactly what he told me 40 years ago, that the reason I was taking the vitamin A was to prevent the cancer cells, the normal cells, from converting to cancer cells. Isn't that progressive?
It is, and just imagine if people would have listened to him 40 years ago, how many people he could have helped.
Right. And then I took other supplements. He put me on a vegan diet, and can you imagine, again, a vegan diet 40 years ago?
No, I can't.
Well, I was on a vegan diet, which was fruit, vegetables, grains, and nuts. And what was interesting is, between then and now, is that you didn't have to worry about the food. You just had to worry about getting fruit and vegetables, grains, and nuts.
Right.
But now you have to worry about the pesticides and the genetically modified foods and everything else. So that now you would have to probably use an organic diet to get the same results. And the other thing they found that with with the Laetrile, they're recommending a higher dose to begin with now than what I took, but they think that the soil has been so depleted that there's not as the same amount of laetrile in the apricots and all that was there 40 years ago. And so I did the things that my doctor recommended. He never asked me to come back, so I just was kind of on my own, but I did go to my own doctor every 6 months for x-rays, but I didn't tell him I was doing anything. He thought we were in a wait-and-see mode. But I also added mental and spiritual interventions because I had studied the Casey material and had also volunteered at their camp as a as the nurse, and
right.
So I had experience with the Casey readings, and Casey was very much into using a holistic approach. And so I added things like prayer, meditation. I tried to be optimistic. I tried to serve others as best I could. I did affirmations. I used anything I could think of. I was on church prayer lists. I called Olga Worrell, a psychic healer in Baltimore, one of the best known at that time. And I did all kinds of things as physical, mental, and the spiritual. And I went back to the doctor every 6 months, and after 2 years, he said, well, he guessed he had made the wrong diagnosis because the spot was gone. And so my friend, who was professor of pediatrics when I taught at Duke University, and at this point he's the medical director for Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina, and he said, well, I want to see the x-rays and the lab work and the biopsies and see everything. And I took it all, and he said it definitely was lung cancer. He was the third person that had validated that it was lung cancer.
Tell me, Dr. HELVIE, how important is a person's spiritual belief in the inner self-healing process?
Now, my own personal belief is that your spiritual beliefs and optimism are as important as the diet and the supplements and everything else that you take. And the research, they haven't really found an easy way to measure spirituality. So it's not, always quite accurate. But the research has shown that people that have faith spend less days in the hospital with an illness. They tend to live longer. They tend to be healthier. There's all kinds of benefits of faith and optimism, and they tend to put those together. And I believe that too. I found the same with my mother. She had a lot of faith, and also when she came home from the hospital, she had the cancer of the cervix of the uterus, and she went to Buffalo, New York. We lived about 150 miles from Buffalo, and she went there. And when she came home, our family doctor told her he didn't think she'd live to get to the hospital. And she said, of course I was going to live. She said, I have 3 children that haven't gotten through high school yet. I had to get home and get them through school.
God bless her.
So I think that if people have, something that they feel that they have to accomplish, and they have the faith and they're optimistic and all, it goes a long, long way toward recovery.
Your story is one of determination, willpower, perseverance, spirituality. And why isn't this being brought to the different treatment centers right now? And why aren't people being taught by conventional medicine that this really works?
Well, we both know why, but we'll discuss it. And it's all money.
Big pharma.
Cancer is a multi-billion-dollar business. The hospitals get wings donated. The doctors get paid. They buy chemo wholesale. They sell it retail. They get paid to administer it. They make a lot of money from it. Everyone makes money from it. And so no one wants to disturb this. And I think that it comes out, it's like Dr. Forsyth, who wrote a chapter in my book. Dr. Forsyth he does research on cohorts of patients. He deals with stage 4 cancer.
Mm-hmm.
His goal is 5-year survival in his research. And when he wrote the chapter, he was having 45% success with 5-year survival, stage 4 patients, cancer patients. The traditional is 2 to 5%. So that's a threat. And so they went after him. And he told me, he said they couldn't take my license. In Nevada, they have a program where MDs can go back to school for 100 hours. They take all of the homeopathic courses. Then they can become a homeopathic doctor, and then their scope of practice is broader. And so he's both an MD and a homeopathic doctor. So he told me, he said they couldn't take my license. So what they did was they tried to bankrupt me, and he said it cost a lot of money to defend myself. Dr. Brzezinski is another man who is probably the leader as far as brain cancer in this country. And they have been after that man off and on for years. Last year, there was a clinic in Oklahoma. They closed it because they were using Laetrile, and there was a man that was buying his Laetrile, and they wouldn't let him take it. And so back in the 30s, there was a man named Harry Hoxsey, and he was having more success than anyone else and had several clinics around the country. And they threw him in jail so much that he carried $100 bills in his pocket, and they'd throw him in jail, and he'd pull out his $100 bill, and he'd get out, and they'd put him back in again, and he was in and out all the time. And finally, the judge appointed a 10-member panel of doctors from around the country, and they talked with his patients, they reviewed the records and everything else, and they said that his standard of care was higher than the traditional care, that the patient satisfaction was very high. I mean, they just raved about what wonderful care he was giving, but they continued to harass him, the FDA and the medical profession associations, and so he ended up moving to Mexico. So this has gone on for many, many, many years. Anyone that tries to move into alternative, natural, non-invasive treatments that are successful, they have the anti-quack law, and the FDA goes after them, and it's all about money. It has nothing to do with, good medicine.
Right. Dr. HELVIE, do we know what causes cancer in some people and not in others?
I don't think that that is known as far as I have not seen where they know. There's different theories. There was a Frenchman that thinks that cancer is a result of fungus in the body.
Right.
There are people that think that it's a result of a deficiency like Laetrile. The theory behind that was, which is what I took, the theory behind that is that there's a deficiency in the body, and so that if you take the Laetrile, that resolves that deficiency. So there's several different theories, but I don't think that there's any one theory. I'm hoping that on my next book, if I ever have time to write it, that I will develop a theoretical framework for cancer that will incorporate all of the known concepts of causation.
Is Laetrile a controlled substance? Can anybody buy Laetrile over the counter?
Well, you can buy it, but I'm always worried that they're going to close down the sources.
I see.
So I'm very careful about giving the information over the air.
Right.
I tell people that if they want to contact me, they want to call me or email me or whatever, I can give it to them, but I don't do it over the air because I'm afraid that they'll close them down. I don't know if you'd say it's controlled, but doctors don't advertise that they use it. I know doctors that are using it in this country, but they don't advertise it because they subject themselves to being harassed by the FDA and the medical association.
All right, Dr. HELVIE, please stand by. We have to take a short commercial break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, my guest, is a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of having on the show before, and he'll be back on the show again in the future. That I can guarantee you. His name is Dr. Carl HELVIE. His website, beatlungcancer.net. beatlungcancer.net. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the Exome. Dr. HELVIE and I will be back on the other side of this commercial set as we continue here in the Exome from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. Don't go away. In the world today, most people want what is called the American dream. They want love, a family, a fancy car, and a nice home in a nice neighborhood. They also want a good job and money to travel to interesting places. Life is great because they have the American dream. But what happens to this dream if they hear they have a devastating illness like lung cancer? The doctor may tell them they need treatment immediately or they will be dead in 6 months. He tells them you need surgery and then you need chemotherapy to get better. When they get home, they think of many unanswered questions. They ask themselves, will I survive when so many of my friends with cancer have died? How will I deal with the pain, hair loss, nausea and vomiting, sore mouth and other side effects of chemotherapy and pain of surgery? Will I be able to keep on working? What will happen to my family? Then they look at the internet and wonder, is there a better way to deal with lung cancer and return to my American dream? Carl HELVIE can tell you yes, there is a better way. Carl HELVIE is a registered nurse with a doctorate in public health and a 38-year lung cancer survivor. Carl was given 6 months to live when diagnosed, and he refused chemotherapy and surgery. Carl used alternative interventions. Those not only helped him overcome lung cancer, but also to remain cancer-free and healthy for over the past 36 years since recovery. In his book, You Can Beat Cancer Using Alternative Integrative Interventions, Dr. HELVIE will tell you his story of using all-natural treatments for lung cancer and continuing to work during his treatment. Free of pain and discomfort, Carl will also share how he remained cancer and disease-free since then without chronic illnesses or prescribed medications. His story is supplemented with chapters by Dr. Bernie Siegel, Dr. Francesco Contreras, and Dr. James Forsyth, alternative integrative physicians, and Dr. Kim Dalzell and Tanya Harder-Pierce, health professionals. All have successfully helped others overcome cancer. Research presented by the alternative physicians on their treatments for lung cancer demonstrate a significantly higher long-term survival rate for lung cancer clients than those obtained by conventional doctors. In addition, their clients were free of or had reduced side effects. You Can Beat Lung Cancer Using Alternative Integrative Interventions by Dr. Carl HELVIE is now available at all major book outlets and at www.beatlungcancer.net. That's www.beatlungcancer.net. This information may help you return to the American dream. Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11?
Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Hi, this is Ken Elliott. When I'm floating around the universe, I always try to tune in to Rob McConnell.
Hey, ho there, Trinity Frog on Sesame Street. When I want to find out what's going on with UFOs or ghosts, I listen to the X Zone with Rob McConnell.
This is Les Corrigan from Target Internet Development. You're listening to Rob McConnell on the X Zone Radio Show.
This is John Hogue, prophecy scholar, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. Dr. Carl Helvie is my special guest this hour. www.beatlungcancer.net. That's beatlungcancer.net. God bless you, doctor. You're 82 years young and had no chronic illnesses or prescribed medications until recently when you developed a heart condition. What have you done to prevent a reoccurrence of cancer and to maintain your good health, sir?
Well, I did a lot of the things that I used during the treatment period.
Mm-hmm.
I continued. I modified the diet. I need more protein than what you can get on a vegan diet. I always had trouble getting enough protein, and so I did add chicken and fish. But with my heart condition, I've gone back on the vegan diet because, again, Dr. Esslinger, who is one of the most well-known and respected cardiologists in the country, advocates a vegan diet for heart, and he says that if people follow the vegan diet, that they will never have another heart attack or anything. And his diet is very, very strict. I couldn't really follow completely everything because he doesn't even allow avocados on it.
Really? Wow.
So it's very strict. But one thing I've noticed, and my doctor told me recently, that when I was first diagnosed a year ago Christmas, she said that my upper chamber in the heart was very dilated. I didn't know that. But she said I'd had ultrasound a couple months ago and that the chamber had gone back to the normal size. She said, I have never seen that. I have never heard of it. But she said, it's very, very rare. And she said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And so I think it's the natural things that I'm using, and also the prayer and the visualization and the other holistic approach things, as well as the vegan diet. Now, I do go off once or twice a week. Usually I just have some fish, or I might have some eggs with some cheese. What I miss the most, I don't miss well, I haven't eaten beef in 30 years.
Oh, my gosh.
What I miss the most, I don't mind if I don't have fish, but I miss the eggs and the cheese.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to stay pretty much the diet I had modified until recently. I continued with the prayer and the walking every day is very, very important. They're finding that exercise is so important as far as even cancer prevention and cancer treatment. You don't think of exercise. You think of exercise with weight loss or
yes.
with diabetes or some of the other heart. But they're finding it also is very important with cancer prevention. So I try to, walk every day.
Mm-hmm.
At my age, that's about the best I can handle. I do some isometric, isotonic exercises, but that's about it. But I think if people will, find time to pray every day and to be optimistic and to help other people. I mean, there's something that happens internally when you help other people. I think there's endorphin probably that is, that comes to the front.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a good feeling when you are able to help someone else,
Sure. Yeah, I understand you recently founded a holistic cancer foundation. Can you tell us about the foundation, sir?
Mm-hmm. I had thought I was coming into a lot of money, and there's been delays in this. I was taken advantage of by an auction house.
Oh, no.
And the FBI got involved, and there's been all kinds of drama involved. But the FBI now has they seized my paintings back, and so I will eventually get these back. They need them for evidence for a while, but once I get them back, then I will sell them and have more money. But I went ahead thinking this was all going to happen very soon in this auction house, and I kept, putting my own money into it, because I needed the lawyer in order to go about it, because I didn't know how you get a 501c3 and all. So I got approval, I think it was last October, November. And so how mine is different than other cancer foundations is that I do use the holistic approach. So and right now what I'm doing is putting the website together. I'm probably 3/4 finished at this point, but I'll be adding to it all along. But I have research on the things like prayer, meditation, visualization, the things that we've talked about. I have research on natural things for different types of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I have interviews that I have done over the last 7 years on my radio show with cancer survivors. I have interviews with cancer doctors. I'm going to have a section on prevention, which will get into things like the pH balance in the body. And I just interviewed yesterday a PhD, one of the authorities on the electromagnetic frequency. And that is so important in terms of prevention, because they have found the connection with leukemia and with brain tumors. And so that is something that, there's things that people can do.
Sure.
So that they protect themselves from that. But many people, I don't think, even realize that that's a problem.
And the worst part is, Dr. HELVIE, is that we are inundated with our radio frequencies, whether it's your wireless phone at home or whether it's the Wi-Fi that you use for your computers throughout your house. And I don't understand it when people go to a gas station And it says right there, shut off, don't use your cell phone. That should tell you that something is wrong.
Right. And you know what's worse, Rob, or just as bad? They have these computer rooms for these kids in the schools. Imagine how much of that energy these kids are getting. And then all these kids have cell phones.
Yep.
And where do they carry them? They carry them in their pocket. And they've also found that there's some connection with the reproductive system. And so, I would think that males may become more sterile in the future as a result of carrying their cell phones in their pocket.
My goodness.
There's just so much in our environment. The genetically modified foods is something else that scares me.
Well, what is your opinion when it comes to genetically modified foods? Stay away from them?
Right. I don't think at this point we have any choice because, well, I know that they're a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
The only way I stay away from them is I live on the Chesapeake Bay.
Right.
And there's a one-lane road that goes out to the main road, and there's people that have gardens, and they put their surplus out on a table in front of their house, and they have an honor system where you count out your money and you put it in the thing and you weigh out your produce and you take it. Or I go to the farmer's market and I buy from the local farmers. But other than that, I stay with the organic because I'm just afraid of the genetically modified. The Roundup, is known as a carcinogen. And even the water, now you can't do everything, but even the water that has the plastic containers, and there's very few BPA, the canned foods even, there's very few canned foods. It's not Amy's, but there's one company that has the BPA-free cans of produce, but that leaches into the food and into the water, and you buy it out of an air-conditioned store, but in the summertime they cart these things outside, and so when they heat up the plastic, that plastic from the bottles is going into the water.
Yeah.
And everyone drinks the bottled water. The microwave oven, another source of contamination. There's just so many things in our environment that, you can make changes. You can't handle everything because I still drink the bottled water.
Right.
I haven't figured out how to deal with that yet. But I try to deal with as many things as I can. So
it seems that the fast pace that we're living in is not good for us at all. All right, who wants to work 17, 16 hours a day? You've got children at home, It's the kids suffer, the family unit suffers. Nobody sits down and has supper anymore together. Nobody has breakfast together. It's a drive-through society. It's a fast-paced society. And then to complicate it, you've got the GMOs, you've got the radio frequencies, and you have stress.
Right. And that again is a big killer.
It's if this isn't a recipe for one hell of a rough ride that we've gotten ourselves into, I don't know what is, sir.
Right. And then you've got the whole field now that has evolved on epigenetics. And they're finding that even your thoughts can influence your DNA. That was unheard of when I was, in school.
Yeah.
But that's another whole field that, again, goes back to being optimistic, having faith in some of these things. I think the epigenetics is tending to show that there is scientific proof for, being optimistic and all.
What's the best way to deal with stress? Because I don't think there is anyone listening tonight to the Starcom radio network that is not at stress, either at school or at work, in their social environment. As a practitioner for so many years, sir, what, in your opinion, is the best way to handle stress?
I think the best, and it's a long-term process. It's not, a quick fix. Mm-hmm. There's things you can do when you're in a stressful situation, like go out and walk around the block, and think about it before you respond. You can visualize, sit and work at visualizing a peaceful setting out in the meadows or by a pond or what have you. But I think meditation and learning the visualization and some of these techniques are really the only way to deal with stress. I'm retired, so it makes a difference too. I tend not to have much stress in my life anymore. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's because I enjoy what I'm doing, and see, again, that's my attitude. I enjoy what I'm doing, right, and I don't have to get up and go anywhere at a certain time, and I live alone, so I don't have to interact with other people if I don't want to, and if I want to, I pick up the phone or I have dinner with people. So I think I'm in an ideal situation, but I think that the meditation and the visualization and using affirmations helps to, and there are things that one can do to build their faith and to build their patience. I think all of those things help a person to become less stressed by the situations they're in their environment.
How about children today? What advice do you have for parents who have kids to help them through the tough times? Like, do we really need to have children on Ritalin? Like, when I was a kid growing up, doctor, nobody ever heard of ADHD. Yeah, nobody ever heard of that. I can't remember anybody taking Ritalin.
Well, I've read that there are people that think that there's no such thing. I don't know a lot about it, but, I think it helps some children, though, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? Kids are subjected to the same garbage that adults are. Like I tell a story about I was going to see my daughter, and I just pulled into a small convenience store to pick something up, and right across the convenience store was a high school, and all the kids came over to the convenience store and bought junk food. Their idea of lunch is a bottle of pop that has aspartame in it, and then a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Like,
see, again, we didn't eat that way.
No.
We didn't eat, and I don't know, when I had a pop or soda, I bet it's been 35 years since I've had a soda. I don't drink that. I drink water, and I try as much as possible to add magnesium and calcium are two of the best minerals to add to water that makes it more alkaline, because I think there is something to the acid-alkaline balance. But I haven't drank sodas in years. I haven't had, I told you I haven't had beef in 30 years. So I don't eat a lot of junk food. Now, I have noticed lately that I am liking potato chips, and I hadn't eaten potato chips for many years either. And so for some reason, I've had a craving for potato chips recently, and so I've been eating those. I know they're not the best thing, but they aren't the worst thing either.
Well, my mother always used to say, eat your vegetables. And when I was a kid, I'd say, well, potato chips are vegetables, aren't they, Mom? So I don't know. What's the message?
Well,
I'm sorry?
And so I juice every day.
Right.
And so I get, a lot of vegetables, and but I, put in the greens and the carrots, and I'm eating things that I'm getting things in the juicing that I had never gotten when I was eating vegetables, because I never ate collards, but I put the collard greens in, and I put the spinach in, and I eat spinach occasionally, but now I'm getting some of that almost every day.
I've got to tell you, I love spinach.
Do you?
I just love spinach. And over the years, my eating habits have changed as well. I'm not a fast food junkie anymore. I drink a lot of water during the day.
Right.
I'm trying to get as much sleep as I possibly can with my busy schedule. After the show and after I get home at night, I sit in the living room with the lights off for about a half hour. And then I go to bed. And I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of fish. So I'm trying to do my part.
Right.
But the biggest thing that I can do, and the help that I can bring to my listeners, is bringing a guest like you on the show to share your experience, to share your knowledge, to tell them, as a survivor yourself, that cancer can be beaten, especially the lung cancer like you've gone through. So, Dr. HELVIE, what is your message tonight for the members of the X-Zone Nation?
Well, I think my message, is going a little bit away, but that is that when your doctor says that you got 6 months to live, which they often do, don't pay any attention to him. Because if you pay attention, that is getting into the epigenetics. Your thoughts are going to influence your physical.
Right.
And you don't want that. You want to stay positive. I think that I wish doctors would say, well, you've got 100 years to live, instead of saying you got 6 months to live. At least give people hope. And also, my advice would be to make your own decisions and hopefully have people that will support the decision that you make. It's like my brother had lung cancer last year, and his doctor he'd had for 40 years, and his doctor wanted him to take radiation. I knew it was not going to help, and my brother was 91, but
God
they
bless
gave
him.
him 5 days a week for 5 weeks, and he lost 60 pounds. He hardly could move. He didn't have any energy. And then about 2 weeks later, he couldn't walk, and they put him in the hospital, and he said they told him that the tumor had not shrunk at all. They were going to do chemo, and his daughter said, I just want him comfortable, and within 2 weeks he died.
Oh, heavens.
Well, he made the decision. I supported that decision because I think it's empowering to make a decision and to have people support what decision you want, even though it's not what I would have done. I did ask him if he would take the Laetrile as well as the radiation, which he said he would, but I don't think his memory was as good enough to remember to take it very often. So I think people need to make their own decision, and they need to ignore the doctor if he tells them they've got 6 months to live. I'm sure the doctor means well,
right,
but it's not the best thing to be telling people.
Why is it always 6 months? No matter who you talk to, it seems that the doctor always gives them the bad news. Well, you've got 6 months to live. What is it?
Well, I guess it's it's enough time that people want to live longer, but it's not such a short time that they are going to say, well, if I only got 2 weeks, then just forget about it. Because medicine's not going to offer them that much anyhow. It's going to be a matter of months usually,
right,
if anything. So
fascinating.
Yeah. But I think that we are moving to a better time. I think that spiritually we're moving to a better time. And I think that the naturopathic doctors are helping, and the public is helping, because more and more people are using alternative interventions, and if Facebook is any indication, I see many, many people that will not go traditional for their cancer, but they're searching for alternative ways to deal with it. And there are many ways. I mean, I use Laetrile, but that's only one. There's many ways. People have used the Budwick diet only,
right,
and had recoveries. People have done juicing and had recoveries. But I think a lot of it, again, has to do with the optimism and the faith and all that other stuff that is pretty hard to measure when you're trying to look at a group of people and look at what they're doing different than those who died did.
You know, Dr. HELVIE, every time you're with us, the time just goes by so fast. Do me a favor, sir. Come back in the very near future so we can talk some more about this and help more people. But until then, how can our listeners find out more about you, and where can they get your books?
My books, they can get at the website that you gave, beatlungcancer.net, and Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. In addition to that website, if they're interested in alternative treatments, I have a holistichealthshow.com. And then if they want to find out more about my foundation, that would be holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Dr. HELVIE, take care of yourself, my friend. Stay healthy. The world needs you.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it, and it's been great being with you.
Nice talking to you, sir. Bye-bye now. Exonation, Dr. Carl HELVIE has been my guest. Once again, his website is beatlungcancer.net. Where does the time go when you're having fun? Well, from 8 p.m. until midnight, Monday through Friday, right here on the Starcom Radio Network with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Well, another day has come and gone. I'll be back tomorrow night as once again we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Starcom Radio Network. So until tomorrow night, my good friends, take care of each other, and always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.